But what we're endeavoring to do is to caffeinate the entrepreneurial community in Missoula and around the country. We do that by getting people together, having entrepreneurs and startups to present their business, and we utilize the resources of the community to connect the dots and connect people to other resources, and by doing so, raise the entire entrepreneurial community. So that's what we're doing here this morning. We have two presenters this morning, and the format is each of our business owners, startups, entrepreneurs present for 6 minutes. We're pretty strict on that time. You got 6 minutes. At the end of that, we're done. Then we go into Q&A. We've got 20 minutes of that. And then we'll switch, do the next presenter. So first I want to introduce our two young ladies, lovely ladies from Pawsitive Works, Canine Assisted Learning. And Pawsitive Works does some really cool things. In a nutshell, they do assisted learning, and they have a life-changing curriculum, and it focuses on both ends of the leash. So I want to welcome and introduce Rhonda and Karen from Pawsitive Works, Canine Assisted Learning.
Thank you.
I won't say it all. Good morning.
That's okay. Good morning. Thank you.
Do you need this back?
Thanks, I do.
Great. All right.
Well, good morning. I'm Karen Schumacher.
And I'm Rhonda, and as Sid said, we're with Pawsitive Works.
And I am going to put a couple of you on the hot spot right away. When we were in early, we brought in a dog, and that was an important part of what our program is. But right now, if I could ask you, Molly, just a simple question in one word, how are you feeling now?
Relaxed.
And you, sir, how are you feeling now?
Happy.
Nice. You, sir?
Happy, joyful.
Wonderful. So you guys came up with that pretty easily. And for youth who lack some of the essential skills, it's not as easy to do. So I'm going to ask you something easier to do. How many of you, when you saw Digger the dog walking through, felt calm or happy by seeing or touching him? Raise your hands. Very nice. That is what our program does, is it uses the canine to facilitate change in the youth. But youth don't always have the skills that they need to do the things that they need to do or access the information that they need to access. So like this cup, youth who have suffered loss and trauma, who aren't getting their basic needs met, are not able to retain basic academic lessons. But like this liner, social emotional learning insulates the youth and provides them with the ability to develop resilience and life skills that will help them retain the academic lessons that they need to become successful members of our communities.
We didn't spill any.
We didn't spill it.
Last night we did. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our organization, a history, and where we are right now. We started in 2009 as a nonprofit organization, and our goal, as Karen said, was to help at-risk youth by pairing them with a homeless shelter dog to learn the essential skills that they need to become better adults and more successful community members. And we piloted the program, and it was a huge success. And it was just this spider web effect because everybody started hearing about it and wanted the program. And so we would travel around and start the program in various communities and various schools. And what we found very quickly was that it was cost prohibitive and time prohibitive. And our board of directors and Karen and I got together and said, we're at a crossroads. We either need to shut this program down, which we didn't want to do. This was our dream, this whole vision of what we wanted to do to change the learning world. And so Karen and I came up with an idea, and we started Canine Assisted Learning for the classroom and for other schools, but as a for-profit. So that was the inception of Pawsitive Works Canine Assisted Learning. And what we did was we altered our framework and the way that we distributed the program. And we created a train-the-trainer model. And that allows us to be able to train other people who want to have the program in their schools, to be able to do their own training and to actually run the program without us being there. So we created this model, and we piloted this model as well with 2 schools who are actually still running the program in Spokane and in Idaho, and it's a huge success. So after piloting the new framework, we said let's go with it, let's roll with it. So we put together a really strong business model, and here we are today. And we have been running 2 of these pilot sites for about 6 months, as I mentioned, and it's become very, very successful. So the intention of this new program is we want to do a nationwide launch, and that's our goal, because we can do that with our Train the Trainer model. And so where we are right now is that our nonprofit's still our foundation for what we do. We've kept that. We do research, we do education, and we have a really great, exciting new ambassador program. And that's where we provide grants to underserved communities that want some kind of social emotional learning program and can't afford it. So we're really excited about that. We're just getting that started. So as I mentioned, our goal is to launch nationally, and that brings us to where we are today. We're just finalizing a curriculum without dogs, but we're still teaching social emotional learning through humane education of dogs, and that can be utilized in any classroom. We're almost finished with the curriculum for middle school, and then we'll be doing one for elementary and high school. So we have these 2 different programs, one with dogs, one without. The one without is great in any classroom. The one with dogs is really ideal for after-school programs or residential facilities or alternative schools. And that's where it's been thus far. And juvenile probation, which is who actually ran our program for about 5 years very successfully. So we just so appreciate your time in letting us tell you about the program and letting you know what's out there and what's available for a really innovative and exciting social emotional learning program. So, any questions?
Yep, it's Q&A time, and we're going to save our 1 million cups question that we always ask to the end of the question and answer time.
We're ready for that one.
All right. Good. Who's got a question for these ladies? And
Yes.
This microphone, it seems like a dummy mic, but it goes straight to audio on the videos.
What about adult learning?
Good question. We, down the road, have ideas for an adult curriculum as well, probably more so with the canines, because that human-animal bond is so successful. And as most of you know, this has been around for several years in the prison system, where dogs either live on site or they come to the prisons. And so that is definitely in our future. We really want to tackle our classroom curriculum, because that's honestly where we see the biggest need right now. And once we're done with that, then that definitely is on our radar. Good question.
Do you do much work with foster children?
That's a good question, and we absolutely will do work with foster children. One of our newest clients is the Hutton Settlement in Spokane, and they are an adoption foster agency. They're one of the oldest ones in the Spokane area, and they'll be starting the program.
Who pays you? Do the schools pay you, or how does that work? And can you talk a little bit about your pricing structures?
Sure. Right now, yes, whoever purchases the program, the school or the juvenile facility is the one who pays for the program. We partner with shelters or rescues, and typically don't ask anything of them except for in-kind donation of time, basically, because we know shelters and rescues are very strapped financially unless they can write a grant for it. And so they're really, really involved with transporting the dogs, with selecting the dogs, that sort of thing. And then our clients are actually the facilities, the schools, the juvenile agencies that purchase the program. Yeah.
From the time that you acquire the dogs to the time that they are fully ready to go and functional, what does that time take?
Good question. Our program was designed after a couple different trials to be 15 lessons long, and ideally that's 3 times a week. So that works out to be about 5 weeks. That said, we know that some of our clients, because we're now giving it to them, this is yours, you can do what you want, may extend the length of that program with adding different components to it that meet their needs. But asking a shelter to hold a dog for that 5 weeks period is about max, and that's why we designed it to run quickly like that, so the dogs aren't being held in the shelter for an overly long period. And at the end of the period, hopefully the dogs are adopted, because we have a marketing program for the shelters, and the youth get to hand over their dogs at graduation to the newly adopted family, which is a huge, very, very teary occasion.
I'm curious about your decision to sort of switch from a not-for-profit, or rather to add a for-profit model, because obviously not-for-profits still sort of need to be profitable to sustain them. So I'm curious, was it regulatory? Was it kind of motivation? What was it that wanted you to add a for-profit model rather than keeping that under a not-for-profit?
Boy, that's a full question. When we ran our canine program with juvenile agencies for about 5 years, and you're looking at the organization right here at that time, and then we had a board of directors. And so what happened was, when we would go out and we would spend several days to train sites and to train volunteers and to get the shelters organized, get the room organized where the training was going to happen, and do all that. When we started having people call us in Utah and in Florida, we just realized we were not getting enough donations, and even with our fundraising, we didn't have enough money to do that. And so it actually was a really good thing. It was a positive thing that happened, because that brought us obviously to where we are today and our growth. But our nonprofit just financially could not sustain doing that. Karen and I were volunteers for 5 years, and it was just a huge burden to fly different places and do the training. And so when we decided to do the for-profit, although it still is running the same, we haven't given up any of our how rich the program is. We haven't changed it in any way except for how we deliver it. And so I suppose we could have chosen to do that as a nonprofit as well, but it just seemed like the best move, and it has been. It's worked out really, really well. And we love that the nonprofit's still the foundation of what we do. And like I said, we run our research and all our education through our nonprofit. And so we're very much partners with the nonprofit.
If I could just add one thing, it's because the program is so engaging to people. We have a lot of questions about, wow, you should be able to make this roll easily. Funding should be just a snap. Well, the truth of it is when you do serve both ends of the leash, you have organizations that support youth that go, well, we're really not sure about the dog part. And you have organizations that fund dogs that go, well, we really aren't into the youth part. So for that reason, while we were able to get grants and we were able to get donations, there was never this big, there's the water spill. There's the spill. There was never this big spill that allowed us to really underscore our efforts to travel and to train and to set this up. So like Rhonda said, we're actually very thankful, because we believe this model will be more successful and more sustainable.
I just wondered if you share some of your learning in a book or ebook or something like that.
I'll let you answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we share it in, you mean our curriculum, or?
Your experience, something that people who might be wanting to adopt some of these things but aren't ready to invest in your program, or just want to learn more.
How they would access information about doing something like this? Is that what you're asking?
Learning from your experience in social and emotional intelligence,
Right.
and breeding dogs, and
Right. Anytime, again, that you are taking two variables like youth and dogs, you're going to have a lot of items that come into play with that. So if anybody was thinking about creating something like this, I think I would want to look at who has ever done it and said, how did you do it? What were the major hurdles? And as we said, our major hurdles were securing enough financing to go nationwide. And what were the most successful? And the most successful things for us, thankfully, is that we developed some measurement tools that we were able to accurately pinpoint what was successful in the program. So we have outcomes, research outcomes that say this is successful. If anybody was starting something, I would say do that. And capture as many pictures as you can, because I'll tell you, there's nothing like being able to go to your archives and say, look at what we've done. Look at the lives that we've touched. Did that answer your question? No.
He wanted to know
My
if we've
question
written
really is a
anything.
pitch. I'm asking you to either if you have written a book and that I can buy, or if you would write one, because it'd be
Absolutely.
really valuable.
No and yes.
Got you. All right.
We have not written one.
My question was actually what you were just touching on about metrics. I was curious if you could kind of share some of those, like what are the outcomes of the program and what has been successful?
Sure. So we have several different tools that we utilize. One is a pre-post test. And the three things that we measure specifically, although the program teaches a vast array of skills, but we look at empathy, mindfulness, and self-concept. Those are the three things that we measure in our tools. And so we do a pre-post test that looks at those three items, and I call it a test. It's just a 15-point questionnaire. We also have daily rubrics that whoever is working in the class with the dogs and the kids fill out the rubrics, and we look at things like motivation, what their homework looks like, because they have to do reading and homework questions as part of the curriculum, and can they critically think and can they analyze? So we look at critical thinking and critical analysis on those rubrics. And on those we're just looking at do they have an upward trend on that? And then lastly, we have a exit interview that we ask specific questions to the youth or to the kids who participate in the program. And again, those are directed specifically at do they understand what empathy is? How do they utilize empathy? Ask them some things about self-worth, that kind of thing. So those are the three things that we've looked at. Because we had the 5 years of juvenile probation running the program, we actually tracked recidivism for up to 1 year post-program, and we looked at how many times they got in trouble, and that was probably the biggest thing. It was about a 98-point-some-odd% reduction in recidivism while they were in our program. And then we looked at 6 months post-program as well. So those are all the ways we've measured. Now that we're reaching out to schools, and we have some schools running the program, we're looking at what their disciplinary actions are. Every school is different. So whatever they do to discipline their students is what we're looking at. And they report that to us, and then we do analysis on that and send them reports if they want that. And we're going to look at GPA. That's actually all fairly new, but we'll look at GPA and we'll look at attendance rate as well for school kids. Yeah.
Good. And I think we have time for 2 more questions. We have about 4 minutes left. Right?
Yeah, somebody got it really bad.
You get 1, 2.
We'll do a quick one, so maybe you can get 3. Are there regions? Are there regions you're specifically looking at expanding into right now?
No, it's not.
It's all over. Okay.
We have a presence in about 4 counties in Idaho and 2 counties in Washington. So that's where we currently are, just because that's where we lived, and so is easy to start the program. So we're ready. Just spoke with somebody from Utah last night that really is interested in the program. So yes, we hope to expand anywhere.
As you move into schools, you talked about GPA data and sort of behavioral stuff. Have you looked into the FERPA implications of any of that stuff?
No, we have
Okay,
not.
That would be good. I think that you're going to have a hard time getting access to any of that. based on
Actually,
FERPA.
oh, right. Actually, the way that we have been able to structure our research is that it is blind, except to one person, and there's confidentiality agreements. So far we haven't, but you're right. It may become an issue. Yeah.
Good. With your national expansion, are you going to have, how are you doing that? Are you having people come to you for a training certification, or are you going on site?
We have a portal, a learning portal, and we're going to be doing webinars, and the lessons themselves are online, and they include videos and pictures and step-throughs.
Right.
Right.
So we'll do all the training online. If they want us to come out, we absolutely will do that and come on site to do training as well.
Do you travel by dog sled?
Yeah,
I need to tie this in.
exactly.
Okay, so our question is, with 1 million cups, what can the 1 million cups community do for you? What are your needs? What kind of things can we help you connect the dots with?
We have two very specific needs, and probably the biggest one sounds simple to you, probably, but difficult to us. Since our inception, we've desperately needed a very short, probably 2-minute professional video that promotes and educates about our program. So many people want to know, the gentleman asked about a book. Somebody wants to know a quick insight as to what the program's about. And we have not been able to afford that. We've looked into it, and it's very, very expensive, amazingly enough. But we have a lot of history now of pictures and our own videos. So our hope is if we can find somebody that's willing to help us with that, we could put something together. The other one is we are looking for a mentor and somebody that has a really, really strong background in growing a business nationally, and that has a lot of business experience. And of course, we can look at things as involved or not involved as they want. Perhaps somebody that wants a stake in our company, which is something that we would look at. But I'm an educator, and Karen is a dog behaviorist. And although both of us have owned businesses, and now we own this business, we have not grown a national company before. And we believe that it would serve us well, and we'd be really smart to find somebody that would be willing to mentor us to that point.
Just to expand on that too, you're here and you're still in
Bonners
Bonners
Ferry,
Ferry, right?
right.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I live
you're-
in Missoula.
It's not like the mentor has to be
No.
in one place or the
No.
other, right?
Can be
Okay.
anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Good.
Thank
So,
you, everybody.
Million Cuppers, put your heads together on that and make sure and talk to these ladies afterward. If you have a connection or something, let's help each other out. Thank you.
You're welcome.